Let's Go, the weekly anime podcast about weekly anime from Dynamite in the Brain and Secret of the Sailor Madness. So come along and hang with the Let's Go gang. It's Dwayne.
Hello.
And it's me, Brian. And on this episode, we are covering anime that aired the week of October the 21st to October the 27th, 2023. And if you heard me say October 21st last week, it's because for 3 weeks I've been getting the dates wrong.
Okay. I hadn't spotted that. Sorry.
Yeah. I can't remember which one of us his fault it is, whose mistake was perfectly carried on by who. One of us made a mistake and carried it on.
And everyone else allowed it to happen. Yeah,
yeah,
so everyone's at fault. That's okay then. As long as everyone's at fault.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm very loud coming through here. Let me move my microphone a little bit further away from my face. Right. I got certainly very loud again with that. Right. So let me stop getting inside my own head and read out the following. First thing we watched is Spy Family, episode 28, Mission and Family, The Elegant Bond Man, The Heart of a Child 1, The Heart of a Child 2, and Waking Up. So really, most of this is Mission and Family, in which we get another Yuri episode, of which is very John le Carré day-to-day spy work, or in his case, secret police work. Like
it's related, yeah.
But it's focusing very much on the grind of it all, and
it's weird. It's trying to bring up sympathy for this guy who regularly tortures suspects. He's not cool as the secret police,
Yes, but I think the important thing is to get to the line that he wouldn't do anything that would upset his family. Because this is going to, I suspect, the line which will be hanging over Yuri much further down the line. It hasn't happened in the comic yet, but that line's going to come up. And he's going to have to make a decision.
Yeah,
the state or his family.
It's the idea that the things he cares about, is he willing to protect those over caring about his family? And if what makes his sister happy is herself and her spy husband and psychic dog and whatnot, if that makes her happy, then I need to leave it to her at his own expense, basically.
Yeah, and that has not come up yet, but the way it's, I think, taking the entire episode to get to that line in this is definitely...
And the way it's framed, where you can see this other guy where he's because it's basically him doing the what do you call it, the profiling, IDing. Profiling is a different thing, where he's following one dissident around who's apparently selling bullshit articles about, it's like, oh, they live in poverty, they fucking shooting each other in the streets, and he's selling that as newspaper articles to the other side, and they're just like, we gotta catch this guy because he's selling essentially them their own propaganda that they can use to make us look like assholes on the international stage. But the thing that Yuri sees about seeing this guy, and you can see his personal bias being interjected in his reports of, and you don't even find out partway through. And I love the fact that you don't find out partway through. It's just following him doing his fucking dissident stuff, being a real jerk. And then it's like, he's got an elderly dad living in his apartment. And it's only mentioned partway through. And he's like, is he doing it because he cares about his family? And it's like, nah, scrap that report, that kind of thing. He's trying to, he's getting too close because he's now empathizing with the target from just following his hourly fucking reports and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and we also see that Yuri is seemingly, at least outgoingly, far more into being in the Secret Service or the Secret Police than his higher ups are, who are concerned that he is working himself too hard.
Yeah.
Eventually I want an arc where he's sent to the hospital where Lloyd works for psychiatric appraisal. Obviously, it wouldn't be Lloyd doing it because there'd be conflict of interest,
but he'll be there, and the fact that he's there, he's like, I want to check in on that Lloydie bastard. He keeps calling him Lloydie, which is just, I love the fact that stuck around. Yeah.
The final punchline is, after a great day at work, he goes and visits his sister and is mad that Lloyd is there. He should be at work even when it's nighttime.
He's mad the child is there. The only thing he's not mad about is the dog, because I'm not sure he's seen the dog yet. But yeah.
Yeah, but he just wanted somebody outside of work to tell him that he had a good day at work, because that's what Anya. You don't hear that in his head, but you just get Anya reading. You get the reading the mind sound effect, and then she like gives him a reassuring pat.
And he's like, "What do you want, weird child?" Which is like, no, she's. I mean, like, she's the most empathetic towards your situation because she just read your mind about how you're feeling. So yeah.
Yes, but there's something up with that boy, and that has not changed in the comic. This week's chapter is a very much there's something up with that boy, and somebody speaks on it. And the punchline of that chapter, well, you've got about 4 seasons before you'll get to it. So 2 more seasons, I think, and it will be there.
I know it's the trope of the what's it called, Siscon, I think, Sissicon, whatever the hell it's called,
sister
complex. Yeah. But I think a lot of what it's kind of going for in this show is with a lot of the adults is they are single-mindedly obsessed because the war and the ongoing Cold War has fucked them up. Is kind of the thing. The reason he cares for his sister so much is the rest of his family is fucking dead, and that's done a number on him. So
she protected him as a child, so he feels it's up to him to protect her.
By being in the secret police and torturing dissidents, he's doing his duty to protect his sister's well-being.
Yes, that's
thinks,
how. Not knowing that she does not need any protecting.
Oh no, 100%. She takes care of dissidents in a different fucking manner. Yeah.
Then we've got the Elegant Bond Man, where all of Bondman's former girlfriends attack him.
Like the style of this, doing the like just that putting that old VHS kind of filter on is just gorgeous. But eventually, like when he wins over one girl and then he wins over the next girl of the week, and then she's like in arm with the prior girl of the week when he's on the third girl of next week, and it's just like you didn't break up with anyone at any stage, Bondman. It's like, yes, I'm having a polycule. Did you tell them? No. That's a funny bit, and just the fact that Anya's into this and she's just like, okay, that's how spies work, and Lloyd's watching this is like, what about this is gentlemanly? There's nothing.
Yes, because Anya's conclusion is, so this is what the flirting story is. I've now got something to talk to Becky about.
She's got some goss. Yeah.
So don't talk about that at school. That's not elegant.
That's not age appropriate either.
It's a children's cartoon apparently, but yes, it goes very Lupin the Third with this particular episode. Then we get the end credits. Then we get 3 MRKs. The first is The Heart of a Child, where Anya wants to ride on one of those weird.
I'm going to call them department store animal cars, where the legs sort of bob up and down, and you move at an incredibly inefficient rate, as Lloyd points out.
I don't think I've ever seen them in the flesh.
I've seen them in videos and shit. They do look like, if I was a kid, I'd be just like, that looks pretty fun. But as an adult, I'm just like, that's highly inefficient. I'm again of the Lloyd opinion here.
Maybe they have them in the UK now, but when I was growing up, it was always just like the static ones.
Yeah.
Move you backwards and forwards for 2 minutes, and then you demand more money from your parents to ride on it again.
Yeah, I presume the reason for these not being able to move very far and fast is so the child can't get away from the parent, because those things are to distract the child while they're doing the shopping and whatnot. Yeah.
Yes, and Lloyd is not impressed. He doesn't understand what excitement she's getting from this, and then she tells him that she wants to do it again. The second one is they see an advert for a holiday by the sea. She wants to go visit the ocean. Well, we can't do that, but we can go and visit the swimming pool. And she's having a great time until she reads the minds of all the boys who are worrying that someone's going to notice that they're pissing in the pool. And then hard cut to back home, sulking in the corner, saying she never wants to go to the swimming pool ever again. And then waking up is we're in the dormitories at the school, and Damien's henchmen have woken up, and they've discovered that Damien had actually woken up an hour earlier.
Yeah, so they're trying to wake him up because he woke up late that one time, and he was like, that was an exception. That was because I was pulling an all-nighter. That's different. Usually I'm actually quite punctual.
Is that it? I can't remember if there's a punchline to this one other than him saying those.
I think it was them being impressed with him and just being like, "Wow, fucking how cool he is," that kind of thing. I think that was it, unless I've forgotten the punchline as well. Yeah.
It did not strike me as much as the Andia shots did.
Mm-mm.
And that's it. Even more fragmented episodes next week where they promise us a massive amount of cats. Then we've got Dark Gathering, episode 16, House Hunting.
So we're done with the ghosts. We're now real estate show, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like it's also a clip show. Half of this episode is essentially a clip show.
I was worried the whole thing was going to be a clip show. I was like, "Fucking, am I wasting my time watching this?" Yeah.
As Aiko ponders her feelings about ghosts and hanging out with these two ghost hunters, and so she goes for a walk, and Yayoi goes with her. I assume because she's worried about her.
Yeah, it does come across as like concern. I am a child concerned with you, my adult carers' well-being. Because yeah, her whole thing is just like, hey, I wanted to get close to spookiness, but I was a little too fucking close last week. Actually, we nearly died several times over, and my boyfriend's currently put up in bed because he experienced, I guess, ghost dehydration. So he's got to recover for a bit. Yeah.
But her walk has led her to the most haunted grave in town. And so she realizes, yes, I'm fully in on this ghost stuff. Plus, I've got some pretty new, innovative ideas about how we can handle ghosts to avoid the things we're putting them in, breaking and escaping. We'll make gel ghosts, talismans to seal them in.
Yeah, because she's talking to the kid and it's like, hey, is it about like how tough the doll is? It's like, not really. It's just like law of equivalency damage. As long as the doll can be stitched back up, it's pretty fine. She's like, but what if the doll couldn't be damaged? Then it could take infinite amounts of damage, right? So if I make it out of a jelly mold and put this little ghost that I've been given as a best friend forever into the fucking mold as I'm doing it, it's like they're invincible best friend forever. What could go wrong?
Yes, and she's she's torturing a ghost now, just like Yayoi. She's starting her own collection of ghosts. We get a little bit of Kataro pondering, having a flashback to some clips from his previous episodes. We also get she's not been in a while. I forgot her name. The blonde-haired girl with the stars in her eyes, who's going to be betrothed to the god who they're trying to take care of.
I forgot her name, but I like this episode is kind of like reintroducing. Hey, remember when this happened? Hey, remember this character? Remember their deal? Remember what's happened them up to this in the series up to this point? It's that kind of clip show, and I guess that's because it's partway through the season.
Yeah, this is the first arc for this season, and I guess catching everybody who might have hopped in at this point as to exactly what the deal is here. I can't remember what she's doing. Her god is. He's going to go to Abe no Seime's grave and harass him.
Like, yeah, she got lost on a tour or something like that with her bad luck, and as she happened to be passing by your man's grave, and it's like, oh, he's doing very fucking well for himself. I ought to check in on him and like, mess with him a little bit. And it's like, is that a giant ghost room I see over there? That seems very interesting.
Yes.
So yeah.
The statue they show of Abe no Seime, I was like, is that who the elderly guy is going to be? Has he somehow been resurrected?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, there was a similarity, but that might just be entirely coincidental. Because I assume the shot of the grave is the actual what the grave currently looks like in real life.
With the statue on it and everything.
Yeah.
I assume its eyes don't glow ominously or anything. Maybe it does. I don't fucking know.
And I assume at the time of location, the grave had just been done up. Hence the comment of, "Oh, they've done up your grave, nice. I'm going to harass him." I guess he's still a ghost, apparently, lurking around. Which was fun. The idea that ghosts would just go and, well, I guess he's a god, but yeah, supernatural creatures go and
to check in and see how you're doing worshiply, I guess. It's like a keeping up appearances. How's the neighbors doing in terms of how many worshippers they have or how many people come visit their shrine, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So anyway, Aiko comes up with the idea let's buy a house to put all the graduates in, so we can really seal them up, and I've got somebody put away, and we'll buy a cheap house. It's the phrase they use in the Detective Conan spin-off. It's houses which have had some sort of crime or incident attached to them.
Yeah. Because I was initially thinking, I was like, are they going to get into the horror of the property market? No, it's more so that these places are being sold cheap because there was some. In Conan's case, it would be a horrible murder. I don't remember
This
the word is
horrible.
like turnover house or something like that. I can't remember the proper word for it, but yeah, there is a term.
Yeah. So is this the one which is 100 yen that they find?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the dude shows up on a motorbike, gives them the keys, and tells them, "It's like, all right, I'm gonna tell you the most fucked up shit that I can possibly think of to dissuade you even fucking going in this house. Because honestly, I do not want you to go in this house, but I would love to unload it on someone for 100 fucking yen. What is that? Like €1 or something? It's fuck all.
Yeah. Because as you're scrolling past the web page, you see they're all at like 100,000 or something, and then
Like pretty cheap for a house,
you
but
just see
yeah.
one in a corner which hasn't got the 1,000 mark, or 100, yeah, whatever it is. It might be 100, 100. It might be 10,000.
Yeah.
And then there's just one which is just 100 yen, and it scans past that, and I guess that's the one they come back to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you thought you were getting away through this recap episode without something truly fucked up being described to you,
Described
you
and
were
then
wrong.
animated. Yeah.
So he inherited this house. Now, his dad was not the one who did the horrifying shit that happened in the house. He was renting it out, and the dad and daughter renting the house killed a bunch of people, then themselves. Then, when other people
Rented the
would
house
buy the house,
after. Yeah.
yes. Oh, it's the police officer investigating the incident fell pregnant,
Oh
and then
God. Yeah.
baby with giant head burst out of her, killing them both.
So whoever goes in there is cursed to bear the
In 10
reborn.
days.
Yeah, the reborn victims of the prior crime. So definitely don't go in there. And they're like, all right, now we got to check the floor space and everything's like, did you not hear my fucked up story about this house? Don't go near it. Because I am incapable of birth, but I wouldn't go near that fucking shit. That sounds horrible.
Yes,
Dear.
it's called the House of Virgin Conception.
Oh,
And so,
God.
yeah, our two young heroines are going to walk right into that house next week and presumably take care of whatever ghosts are lurking in there.
They have
Or
brought
this-
some ghosts with them, so they're not
Yes.
coming in unarmed, but yeah.
Yes, it's a perfect house for storing their graduates. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it looks like they're going to fight a giant-headed baby ghost.
Yeah. And also the idea of all the ghosts living together in a house, a la your Monkeys style setup, which is like my favorite setup for a thing. I'm just like, ooh, that's pretty good. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Stigma type. It's got this house with a stigma on it. That's the word.
That's the term.
Yeah. So it did remind me straight away of the corporate Hanzawa, though, because that being a plot in that as well. He wanted to buy a nice house, but the only ones he could buy were stigmatized ones.
And also, I'm pretty sure most property in the fucking thing is places where murders have been done, because there's been a lot of murders in Detective Conan. Yeah.
Then we've got episode 16 of Helk, The Truth Behind Awakening, in which humanity's, or rather, the nobles' plan for humanity, or perhaps the king's plan for humanity, is revealed.
See, yeah, with that, I was kind of thinking, I was like, I don't see how Helk would turn on humanity. He knows a bunch of humans that he's very fucking fond of. And I was just like, oh, what if their plan has already succeeded and there's no humans to save anymore? And I'm just like, okay, fair enough. Besides the nobility, but specifically, fuck those guys.
Yes, so essentially, the noble who saved Kless and the Grand Sage who healed him have got a plan, along with the king, to awaken all of humanity into heroes. And as the nobles, towards the end of the episode, explained, it will increase productivity. I was like, oh,
Like,
there's
yeah,
there's the metaphor on full display.
Oh yeah. I mean, if they could do this in reality, in our reality, they fucking would. Not necessarily the nobility, but the motherfuckers in power. You know, the 1%.
And
That kind of shit.
but also like the mercenaries who help
Yeah.
encourages, or who the God, what's his name? The guy who's come to warn them about it because Mauro,
I
something like
remember
that.
his name was something with a Z in it, but yeah, maybe I'm wrong. He
Yeah,
is
no,
of
yeah,
he's a noble of noble stock, kind of like a captain kind of thing. But he's like, this plan is like, my job has been protecting the people, and this is fucked up because this is using the people as tools. I did like, because when we first meet him, he's like this bastard evil knight and that kind of thing. It's just like, no, that's part of the corruption thing, because he's actually like really honorable, where he's willing to go against his own blood, the nobility and everything, to protect people. And I need you help to do it, because I was always told by your brother, if anything goes down when I fight this demon lord, get on to my brother. He'll fucking sort it out. He's tougher than me. So he 100% trusts Elk, and just the thing of making him like a regular dude, like just the joke of him, he's too loud. That's his thing. He just talks very loudly. He basically shouts everywhere.
yeah. And is it Edil and Alicia, the other two mercenaries? They're all in on this. They're all for this. Let's go.
Hulk's like, I'll take it on alone, and Alicia's like, well, I heard it from the next room, and no, you're not. And also, he's definitely going to come as well. So let's all fucking go. Yeah.
Yeah, and then those darn nobles knew you couldn't trust them. And then, but as they're going towards it, they've broken in and they're heading towards the location where this rite is going to take place. Help's like, well, these guys are on my side. It's time for me to explain that the demons aren't bad guys after all.
They take a moment of breaking in. It's just like, I met with one of the demon guys. They're actually sound out. The monsters have nothing to do with them. It's a completely unrelated thing. So we've actually got the wrong fucking thing of it. And they're just like, Helk, you're too much of a nice guy. You trust everyone. It'd be great if what he was saying was true. That'd be like, he wants peace. Fantastic. I don't believe it though. And Alicia's the one who comes along like most on side to say, it's just like, yeah, that would be great. And let's hope that's the fucking case. But I'm going to assume you're fucking wrong on this, Hulk.
Yes, but because they're like, there's all the history of the demons doing bad things to it. It's like it's so institutionalized in them. So even when they're rebelling against the nobility, they're still afraid of the other.
Who told you for generations that the demons were doing things to you? Which echelon of people told you that? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like that bit, and then the productivity bit later. I was like, oh man, this is pretty good sort of modern day stuff turned into a fantasy metaphor.
Yeah.
While still having gags throughout, even this episode. So yeah, they're getting into a fight. Kless is, I guess, brainwashed. He's
because the king, it like initially shows like a bunch of nobles appearing on thrones, like they're fucking in seal or something like that. And then like they're giving over the various points, like, yes, this will protect humanity and it will make them stronger. And one guy's like, and it'll increase productivity because they can't disobey an order. And it's like, okay, buddy. But then the king is revealed. The king is like just like kneel, and it doesn't show Hulk, but the other guys, it shows them like purposely taking a knee. It's like we have to obey his words. They're that powerful on us. They're not working on Hulk, and he manages to break him out of it. But when the king gives the Kless sat in a chair unconscious commands to attack his friends, he does, but it's under something different. It's not the same kind of I'm compelled to obey a single word order from my king, that kind of thing. Kless is kind of working against his own thing, like you said, maybe mind controlled or something like that.
Yeah, but the sage is like, oh, they got no chance against him, but they do, because it turns out Alicia's sword is the hero slaying sword.
That was the magic sword that you had the whole time.
Yes. And when the sage mentions this, she's like, how do you know the name of this? That's a family secret, the name of this magic sword. And he's like, well, I'll be having that because I need to go and stab somebody. We don't see who, whether it was Kless or Hulk. You assume it's Hulk, but we don't know because
we know Hulk is fine later. So
yes,
yeah.
So this is a great story. This is also highlights the shortcomings this show has in delivering action.
Yeah, it's weird because it is very like actiony based, and it's big heroes doing cool magical fights and sword fights and whatnot. And it's just like it's a pity the story that it doesn't match up the animation to it. But I mean, like the acting's all great and everything, and the story is really solid. So
Yeah, yeah, and I suspect that. Well, it might need another season after this, I think, to
Hmm.
get to the end of the story. But at least they'll get to the end of the story fairly quickly
Mhm.
because they're not spending too much time putting dazzling action scenes in. But yeah, it just does look a little clumsy in places, particularly in this episode where there was kind of more one-on-one fighting action than there normally is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Also, I should mention, yeah, this week's Dark Gathering was probably also the worst it's looked as an episode. But
It didn't help that half was a clip show. So yeah.
yeah, what does continue to look good and has great comb over animation is Ballbuster episode 4.
So
The
lovingly
incredible,
rendered, like freaking comb overs
yes,
flapping in the breeze. Oh, good.
the incredible operation to capture a giant beast alive begins
Hmm.
and ends as well because they've got it by the end of the episode.
Yeah, like it has the long-winded titles, but it doesn't fuck around this show. Yeah.
Yeah, so they get to the point of yeah that beast we took a photo of. That's probably my dog because it's got my dog's lead on it, even though it's bigger than my dog used to be.
And
Uh,
it's just
uh,
like, oh, okay, so you're suggesting that it's your dog mutated rather than like a new creature introduced into the environment. It's like, yeah, pretty much. And they're like, well, if we could catch it though, that would be really good because we'd definitely be able to. Because you'd be searching for, I presume, like dog DNA to see what it has mutated from and that kind of thing. Hmm.
yeah, so that's part of the plot. The other part is we've got to get a boat. We've got to phone around who's going to give us a boat for free.
Hmm.
Um,
A
which they
lot of it
do.
is them basically like calling up people and seeing if they'll like do the job for nothing. That'd be great because your man checks when your one calls in on him and he's like, "Oh no, my apartment's a state." It's like, "Yeah, put out your rubbish." And she just sits down on the bed because she wants to see the clip of the dog, and he's like, "Oh, I'm all embarrassed." It's like, don't don't be weird, man. Come on. Um, he goes to his old company and is basically like, "Hey, could you guys make us like a giant like monster catching cage for free? Because we." And everyone's like, "No, I'll pay for it out of my own fucking pocket." And his boss. I'm glad she's coming back. That lady in her pink power suit is like, "No, fucking, we're not doing that kind of thing for free." And the old engineer is just like, "Would it be alright if I took some bits and just made?" I feel like making a doghouse out of
Yeah,
old bits of scrap metal.
yeah, there's after the reveal. She's revealed that she thinks it's her dog that's turned
Mm.
into the monster. That's what softens the pair of them into the.
And it's basically like we can't legally give you a giant monster catching cage, but I guess your man can make a dog house. Wink, 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 and give it to you for free. Like it's people doing it out of the kindness of their hearts, even though they are a business and are here to make money.
Yes, because they're also going to pick up the what's the forklift truck mecha called, the bull roller. That's it,
Bull
bull roller.
roller, yeah, because my brains keep saying bulldozer, and I was like, no, 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 that's that is too on the nose.
Yeah, because they've got to pick that up. Yeah, and also while you're here, Akina, you're still on probation, uh, fucking up, which comes into the climax, which
That's
is
I love that as like obviously there's the him coming to the rescue of your one because she's on the island fighting what looks like a crocodile mutant basically. I don't think it's a
well,
crocodile, but it's just crocodile
no,
shaped.
it's
Yeah,
something has mutated, and she spots that it's got now whatever this thing is has developed webbed toes,
so it's
and
trying to get away from her through the sea, off the island, back onto the mainland. It's like that would be really bad. Yeah.
yes, no covering up after that point.
Mm-mm. So it's him trying to get to the island in Bull Rover to give her backup basically. But he's still on probation, and our accountant is here to go. Blah, 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 blah. You can't fucking go. You're still on probation, and you're just like, I gotta go. She's in trouble. It's like for 15 seconds holding up his wristwatch because he's just counting it up to midnight. Um, and I was just like, that's such a good bit. But what made it even better is when like he kind of like your man's gone off on the boat. He looks at his phone. He's obviously set his watch fast, and because it's like 11:45, and he's like, "Kid, you're not getting paid for the next 15 minutes." I
Yeah,
was just like, "Fucking." Because he's been trying to scrimp and save with these guys, and they're like,
Yes.
"We need to build a monster catching cage." He's like, "That is not in the budget. We absolutely cannot build a monster catching cage." He's been so, that's a kindness he's doing, but he is also fucking this guy out of his work hours. So he's a great character. Yeah.
Yes, he's still an accountant at heart.
Mm.
But yes, he's not going to let a colleague be consumed by a giant monster.
Mm.
We also learned that her family were the ones who were first attacked.
Yeah, and it could have been by their own dog, is their understanding, because she was away at college, I think, at the time, she says, but by the time she got back, the dog was gone. The family was already, I think, either hospitalized or killed. I'm not sure which happened first, but yeah.
Yeah, but the way the dog behaved,
it seems like it didn't seem aggressive. Yeah.
No. Particularly because they've got it in the cage, because after they've brought the monster.
Her initial setting of the trap, where she's kind of like, she set up the cage in Bullbuster, and then she's kind of standing out the cage in her plug suit and that kind of stuff, and then she opens a bag of dog food to put in a bowl, like dramatically opening a bag of dog food, but emotionally and dramatically, but opening it. And I was just like, this is good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the lot of the fun is seeing typical giant robot shots, but done by people you might work with.
Yeah.
Because the account also does like the points to like, usher the robot launch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Launch the robot, which means it's on the tugboat and is going towards the island. Yeah. It'll be there in 20 minutes, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the shots of like her in the cockpit, but then you see all the screens behind just like corrugated iron buildings, which very familiar to me, having brought up in a rural area.
It's a rural area. It's just like a prefab type thing made on the docks, and it's just like, that's all they need. The fancy logo really like fancies it up, and they got the new logo on the boat and everything. I was like, this is looking great, but it's still very, very ramshackle operation. Yeah.
So adding to the character map this week, we've got the dog and the mechanic, the engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still some more slots to come. I think one of them will be, one of them's here already. The guy at the end credits, who will finally appear next week.
Yeah.
Apparently somebody's boyfriend, by the sounds of things.
So your man's is like, oh, should I go with the other pilot or the secretary? It's just like, yeah, at least one of them has a boyfriend. So watch out, buddy.
I think possibly another scientist will. I think we saw her. Yeah, because the description of the guy who we've met already is that he is a serial sexual harasser. So I assume we have to have a character introduced where we can see this actually take place in the anime.
All right. I mean, like, that does happen in the workplace as well, so I guess that would
be fair. And I assume that's why they've made him look like that actor that I mentioned, because he's often cast in those sort of roles. So we'll see more next week. I thought the robot action and the CG animals, I'm kind of used to it now. It was all choreographed pretty well. But
see, that's the thing I was thinking. It doesn't. I think the design isn't great of the weird. I'm gonna call it a crocodilian mutant. But like, she kind of like suplexes it into the surf to try and like keep it from swimming away. And I was just like, it's all pretty well done. Like, there's a real like physical weightiness to it and everything.
Yeah. Because initially she's trying to drown it when she realizes it's got web feet.
Yeah.
Even though it's got web feet, it's breathing through its lungs. So I'm gonna
try and hold it under, basically. Yeah.
But then they mentioned earlier in the episode that the waves were really bad. That was another reason why they didn't want them going and doing this operation
at night as well. That's the other thing. Yeah.
Then she had to pull it out of the water because she wasn't going to be able to hold it under when the wave was going to bear down on her.
And yeah, just a simple thing of setting that up and just going like, the tidal conditions aren't good for doing this. It's such like a very basic fucking problem. But yeah.
Then we've got Jujutsu Kaisen, episode 38, Fluctuations. That's what happened here.
So I'm trying to remember the gist of it now. The initial one is Mei Mei trying to figure out how to defeat smallpox, which is just like a weird sentence. And its domain is like it counts to 1 and it puts you in a coffin. 2 and all of a sudden you're buried under a big rock in a coffin. And then 3, a bunch of ghosts are going to pop out of that and grab you, and then you're got. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so she basically goes to the, what's the kid's name again? Lulu or something like that. I
Is it
can't remember.
May May and Ui Ui?
Yeah. Oui, oui,
Ui
oui, oui,
Wee Wee.
because it sounds
Okay, yeah.
French. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, you're right. Um, yeah. So basically, she goes like, "Hey, kid, would you die for me?" He's like, "I'll be allowed to die for you." Oh, absolutely, because that's just what a kind of simp he is. But so he makes himself kind of the target by, because I can see that this thing's just targeting by using one of her crows. That only 2 crows got pulled into the domain with her. She used one of the crows. That thing gets buried, and it's like, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 3 steps, and you're dead if you haven't broken out by the 3rd one, and it's just wasting your time up to that point. But it's going for the thing with the most cursed energy flowing through it. So she pumped it into the crow as a test. But then she goes, "All right, kid, you provide the distraction, and then I'll run up and kill him." And the kid gets caught in the coffin, and then it doesn't get to step 2 because he's put his life on the line. That's increased his power, and his power is like setting up his own symbol domain within a domain, so he can't really be affected by the one hit kill thing they call it. And she just runs up and fucking fucks up the smallpox with her giant fucking hatchet. She gets a bit of a bit of banter with what's your man's name with the stitches in his head? Because the thing that,
Kenjaku. Oh, but
yeah,
we know he's Kenjaku now, do we? I'm not spoiling
I
it for anybody.
I don't. Maybe you have. I feel like they still haven't said it, but it doesn't. Yeah, like because that's what throws me. I was like, there's 2 names, and he's pretending to be one, and he is the other. That kind of thing. It's he's basically like going like, "Hey, that was a pretty good job," and back and forth, kind of talking shit. And then the other part of the episode is Nanami, Zeden, and Maki are, and the both of them are keeping like, "Maki, go home. Would you like you're not cut out for this. We're grade 1 like adults, and you're a kid technically." Even though she's a badass, but they're kind of running in to try and fight a thing. The only thing that's there is like, "Hey, watch out! There's an octopus behind that pillar in the train station." It's what's the name of the? It's a Lovecraft monster. Dagon. Dagon.
Okay.
So they're trying to catch that, and it's like, hey, the reason why that thing looked really pathetic, they give it a punch and it sicks up a bunch of skeletons. It's like, how many people have you eaten? It's like, oh wait, this is just a not cursed egg, cursed womb, I think they call it.
Yes.
And out of it pops a fully final form of Dagon. I guess I was getting like Cell vibes off of him anyway. And he's pretty pissed off that they keep referring to it as like, "Hey, curse, how about your fucking thing?" Because your man's um, Zenon is the guy with the frame rate thing, isn't it? No, sorry. Yeah, no, Zenon's the guy with the frame rate thing, the fastest sorcerer besides the Golden Boy. Um, and he's explaining how frames per second work rather than explaining how his ability works. But technically, he is explaining how his ability works to make it better. And Dagon's like, "Stop calling me curse. My name is Dagon. My friend's name is this. We have fucking names. We're individuals with our own wants and dreams and stuff. And you killed one of them, and I'm pretty pissed about the whole situation." And there's some nice visualization of Zenon's thing of like he touches the guy, and then that turns him into like a flat plane of glass that he kind of moves around. And they also explain like frame rates at multiple stages where you got to plan your moves 24 frames in advance. And that kind of shit. And if you don't, you kind of freeze up. And if you freeze up, then you're locked into place for like a second because you don't use your 24 frames a second, and then you get smashed. So it's a lot of back and forth with that. It's the interesting kind of visual stuff. So Dagon opens his domain, which puts them on that tropical island that we've seen them on before, the baddies on before. And I was just like, oh, okay, so that's how that was working. And his thing is he shoots out fish that will get a bite out of you. An infinity of these Shishigami fish spirits. But that's when our other God, I'm so bad with names. What's the kid's name whose specific thing is he summons the spirits? That's gonna bother.
Yeah, I'm not watching it, so I
That's
can't
all right.
remember.
He's
Unless they're
one
in
of
the
the
current
main.
chapter.
No, he's one of the
who they are.
main three kids along.
Oh, Megumi.
Megumi. Yeah, he kind of pops into it. He's opening his domain inside it, and Dagon's like, "Oh, we're having a tug of war because you're trying to stop me summoning fish by having your domain inside my domain." And he kind of says to Nanami that it's just like, "Hey, Dagon thinks I'm doing this, but I'm not. I'm actually opening up a little hole big enough for like one person to get through. So if you all back up to me, we'll all jump through the hole." And we can, because I bust through his thing from the outside, but I've made a little hole so we can bust back through, big enough for one person. So everyone get back to me. They're like, okay, back to back. We're all gonna jump in the hole. Dagon realizes, oh shit, they're about to run out of my domain. And then our seanced guy who died priorly, but now is here to cause mischief, just jumps in the hole at that last second, right at the end of the episode. It's like, oh god damn it, another prick has jumped in here with us. The situation is worse than it started. Ah well. So yeah, that's where we go with it.
Right. Then we got Dr. Stone, A New World, episode 14, Deal Game, Test of Wit, in which I think the entire episode is pretty much them negotiating. And more importantly, as a young viewer, you get to learn the skills of negotiation from a master.
See, it did the thing of, it's not the best looking episode or anything. Like it doesn't have a lot of fancy animation stuff to pull, but I really like the shonen battle anime thing of just like, oh, he's doing this thing, very clever. But in terms of like negotiation techniques, and so it's like, oh, he's like the classic thing of they were opposed. It's like, I've showed up in your cave, I could fuck you up, I could actually kill you all here because, as you know, I'm the strongest fighter, and we've taken out your strongest fighter. But he kind of again kind of moves to the other side of him. I was like, I'm beside you, I'm with you, man. He's playing the good cop and then playing the bad cop on purpose, and them going through the steps of negotiation. It's really well played out, really well acted out.
Yeah, so this is what flower is this? Mozu show. Yes, he shows up, and they do the deduction that he must be here to see if we're worth teaming up with to overthrow Abara.
Because he followed Amaris in the middle of the night, and it's just like, you could have killed her, but you knew she was with our group, so you wanted to follow us to that group, but you're not immediately trying to murder us. So you're trying to judge, is like, is it more beneficial for me to keep you fuckers alive? And it's like, time to make ourselves seem useful and see if we can get him to join with us. Yeah.
And it's like, well, and then you're also like, Mozu is like a really good fighter, and I was a middle-aged man. Why hasn't he just killed him already? Well, it must be the petrification device. And so yeah, it goes back always back and forth with him inside Jen's head, but also back and forth with Mozu.
Instead of like conversation happening among our heroes, because they don't have time for this, it's them thinking is like, you know, like your man kind of going like, haha, this means that they only have one petrification device, because if they had two, he would have had one on himself. But he said, everyone else fucking close your eyes, I don't have time to fucking do this. But the fact that she didn't petrify the master's hut means she doesn't know the master is petrified. Like, they're using all this information that Amaris has given them to determine the thing. But kind of then going like, so we just need someone to talk him down and see if we can get him on our side. And then Gen's kind of like looking to his left, looking to his right. Oh, you mean me? Oh, fuck. Okay, yeah. Got it. Here we go.
Yes. Well, once he's on stage, he's fine. And then once the deal has been made and
he's allowed collapse, basically. Yeah.
So yeah, the plan is we're going to scare Ibarra into wanting to use the petrification device, and so we're going to give Moz a more modern spear and a disguise, and he can start attacking his own men to make it look like we're attacking, because obviously none of us are actually up to the job. Also, at the start of the episode, we get a load of more people back as well.
Yeah. We got Chrome and Yuzihara and a bunch of other guys have, and again, so we get more back and forth between this huge group and this one muscular man who's just there. It's just like, we got to negotiate with this muscular man, otherwise we're in a lot of trouble. And even that kind of thing is like, because Gain basically got him on side by at the end pretending to be sleazy, and it's like, yeah, you work for us now, buddy. And he's like, no, you fuckers work for me. I'll be taking that petrification device. And it's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And they're like, he's gonna try and kill us at the end. It's like, oh fuck, 100%. But we'll use him up to the point that it's useful to us. So
Yeah, the one of the gags is when Taiju's reunited. God, I can remember his girlfriend's name.
Yuzihara, is it?
Yes, Yuzihara. Yes. And then he does it. He realizes people are watching, so it's a very chaste.
A friendly handshake. Yeah. And like, it's your girlfriend, you're mad about her. She's just wearing seaweed currently. It's just like, yep, we're good chums, and everyone's like, dude, come on, we don't care.
Yeah, fun episode. Because it has to be carried essentially by mainly one actor.
Mainly one actor, but like a lot of other people get to comment on it. Basically, like I said, it'd be like the shonen thing. It's like, he used the secret move. Get on their side, that kind of thing.
Then we've got Pluto, episode 1. A massive 72 minutes. That's multiple languages credits, though, of course, because it's
it's like not quite 10 minutes credits, but yeah, about an hour.
Yeah, it's volume 1 of Pluto in anime.
Volume 1 of Pluto. It's like, no offense to the rest of it, I think volume 1 is my favorite because it starts really fucking strong. So yeah, I think the episode followed through quite well with that.
Yes. So essentially, something is murdering the most powerful robots in the world.
You might have heard the story before. It's a classic. It's an oldie. It's an Astro Boy story.
Yes, and assigned to investigate this is a robot detective working for Europol, Geist, and he is in the first half of him doing investigations. He goes to speak to the Hannibal Lecter of the robot world, who's
that's like going from the home life to, I got a job, honey, like sent to the wife. Was like, yeah, we'll go on vacation after this. And going on the crime scene is like, I need to talk to this seems like only a robot could have committed this murder, and there's only one robot 8 years ago that committed a murder or did a bunch of murders. So we're gonna talk to him, and he's like, yes, I'm a creepy robot. It's very well set up.
Yes, and mankind have kept him alive because the problem he presents is there's nothing wrong with him.
Nothing wrong with the programming. That's the scariest part. It's just like, wait, so everything was working fine. And the 13th law of robotics of a robot shall not cause harm to a human was still fucking in place. Yes. How did he do those murders? Don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And as he pointed out, he stabbed into like a freaking, like, it looked like the final battle, I guess, where he fell, like, and he stabbed into the wall with a lance. And he's like, if they pull this lance out, I'd die. It's in like my general CPU, but they're too fucking scared. They can't do it to me, Clarice. Yeah.
Well, I think part of the problem is that I guess the balance is like him killing somebody and is it a malfunction is a suggestion of life that the other robots don't have, and so therefore mankind would be, in theory, they're fine killing robots who they don't think are alive, as we learn in the second half of this episode, and that aren't on the same level as humans. Whereas this guy, he chose to kill a human, and there's nothing wrong with him. So therefore, he's more alive than all the other robots, and therefore, can't bring ourselves to murder this robot ourselves,
which would make us murderers. Yeah,
particularly because the idea is they've done away with humans fighting wars.
Yeah,
they just have robots do it now.
See, one of the things that I think it does well is a lot of robot sci-fi fiction, especially like Robot Uprising and stuff, is like a racism metaphor. What if the slaves rose up and took over from us. It's that colonizer fear. It's like, what if we're on the end of the fucking shittiness that we've inflicted on people? But in this case, it's talking about robotics as in, once robotics gets past a certain level, and once actual artificial intelligence, not the bullshit we're dealing with now, that's a lot of bollocks. Once it gets past a certain level, when is it a person? Because the thing it's opening with as well is the murder of the great Swiss robot Mont Blanc, who. Yes. Like when you have like the volunteers to build his memorial service, they're all crying at the video playing. It was like, this was his great life and that kind of thing, and they've all like volunteered their time and effort and everything to do this, and they're very upset by it because he was a much beloved nature loving robot, perfectly fucking good. And it's just like, but you see him and it's just like, that motherfucker was in the war. That motherfucker was gigantic. He did some damage, probably, and that's why he chose a life of peace after the war. The Eurasian War, I think it was some war between Europe and Asia, which is
it's the Iraq War.
Pretty much, yeah. Based off of all the footage we see, that's where it was taking place. Yeah.
Yes, because that's the other metaphor that it's going for, is robots as soldiers. And
again, their humanity in killing other robots is like, does that make them less fucking human or more because they're getting upset by the fact of it? Yeah.
Also, was it the scientist who built him has been murdered in the same way? Or is it?
No, because the scientist who built him is like, Geist, you need to get this motherfucker who killed him. It wasn't an accident. They say it was a tornado that messed his CPU, but he was really advanced and I didn't build him so that would work. So, like, you need to get whoever killed him. It was a robot rights activist.
That's it. Okay.
And as Geist points out, he's like the opposite of Mont Blanc because this guy had so many fucking enemies. He was a political activist, constantly pissing people up, riling them up, whereas everyone loved Mont Blanc. But they've both been murdered, and they both have big fucking antlers stabbed into their heads.
They killed in a very sort of folk horror style situation.
Yeah. And even the contrast between Mont Blanc having the trees jammed in next to his emptied robot skull, I guess, and the guy just having stuff in his apartment jammed into his head, including like a lamp.
Yeah, it's the 39th Central Asian conflict.
Okay.
So that's the first half, and then the second half is the loneliest robot in Great Britain.
Not quite, but yeah.
Not quite, but yeah. It did make me think of that fake GTA 5 film. So we've got North number 2. Yeah.
Which suggests there's other ones of him, but those ones didn't fucking survive the war, basically, yeah.
Yes, or weren't as good. Or after they built number 1 wasn't great, and then they built number 2, and they're like, we're good. We made one of the strongest robots in the world. So and he's Paul Norman is the guy.
Yeah, that's like, as we found out, that's not his actual name. That's the name he's picked for himself. But he is a world famous composer of only a couple of movie scores, but I think it's like definitely like he's presented as some kind of Enrico Morricone kind of thing where people are like, oh, we got to get fucking this guy to do the score, that kind of thing.
Yes, and he's a blind composer, and he's retired, and he's living in a castle in Scotland. And the latest butler has been sent. It's North number 2, who he has discovered is a robot who fought in the aforementioned conflict. And he's not a big fan of robots. He's even less a fan of robots who have killed their own kind.
And he's less a fan of robots who walk up to his fucking thing and goes like, yeah, I heard your film score. It really moved me. And it's like, oh, it moved you, did it? Like, did it? How many people did you kill? It's like, I can't kill people. I'm a robot. It's like, all right, how many fucking robots did you kill, smart ass? And he's being really, he's trying to bait him the whole time, basically. And North is like, I'd like to learn how to play piano. Actually, I think that would be better.
Paul Norman.
Paul Norman. Okay. Yeah.
I knew it was, Paul Duncan. Yeah, I knew it was some other English first name as the surname.
Mm.
Yeah, so they have like a cantankerous half hour back and forth. Duncan is dreaming. He's humming a tune in his dreams, or rather in his nightmares, as he's actually explained.
And
Eventually
as
explained.
one of the things that makes him blow up on North number 2 the most is where you can hear him composing a new piece, but he always like slams his fingers into it in frustration. He can't finish it, or his frustrations are being taken out on the piano and then been taken out on the other machine, North number 2.
Yeah. It's really a really weird coincidence. This is kind of the plot of this week's Bob's Burgers episode.
Good timing, lads.
Yeah. Yeah. He's trying to. He's entering a song contest, and he's dreamt the perfect song for that song contest. When he woke up, he couldn't remember the song, and so he's having to lucid dream in order to get the song back. And yes, it is very much a memory, as a melody lost in a dream, and having to recover it. I was like, wow, that's really weird that storyline came up in Bob's Burgers the same week Pluto debuted on Netflix. Less combat robots.
I mean, we can't all be winners, yeah.
Yeah, so they will eventually, he sacks him multiple times, and eventually he does leave.
It's like, didn't I fire you? He says as he's being served dinner and eating it. It's just like, North just says, I'm fucking saying nothing. I don't even know if I'm being paid for this situation, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Before he leaves for the penultimate time, he does blow up at him and explains, okay, you think you know everything about me, right?
Get all your fucking data about me. And this is when he went on a full thing of like knocking over the recording equipment, because he only uses the piano, and North pointed out that he had lots of other fancy schmancy devices. Like, this is like you, they're all fucking empty, there's no heart and soul to them. So he's breaking them, and he's like, you've got all this data about me, but you don't know the fucking real me. No one knows the fucking real me.
And he explains, yeah, I come from Bohemia. My real name is Paolo Holy. My dad never knew my dad. I was a very sick child. Then one day, my mum hooked up with this rich bastard, sent me away to England to boarding school where I was bullied, and then I fell incredibly ill, and I was only saved by this mysterious doctor.
This mysterious, I said doctor, he was unlicensed Japanese lunatic.
Yes.
Jack something, I don't fucking know. Yeah.
Sounds exactly like Blackjack. I don't know if they managed to get the dub actor for Blackjack back for the dub. I did listen to a bit of the dub because
I meant to check out the dub. I completely forgot to. Yeah.
Keith David played Tenma.
Ooh, okay. Maybe I should take it out then. Yeah.
Saw a clip of that, and I was like, I should probably check this dub out, because if they've got Keith David, they've probably got fairly good actors elsewhere in it as well. Yeah. So while he saved my life, he did warn me that it would cost at the customer site, and my mum never showed up. So, did you learn that she died? And then when the rich man she'd married died.
Oh no, she didn't even marry that guy basically, and he's kind of like gleeful of that. It's like, yeah, she didn't even marry him in the end. She just fucking died. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
So I bought his castle when he died as revenge. Now I live here.
It comes across better in this because obviously he's presented as like a blind auteur and that kind of thing. But the sheer fucking opulence in which he lives, none of which he can see, and he's doing it out of spite, that kind of thing. Like, it shows the vast gardens and the paintings and all the fucking fanciness of the castle, and it's just like, yep, I can't enjoy any of this. Fuck it, it's mine. Ha ha! I won. How do you like that, ma? Yeah.
And so he goes away again, and then eventually comes back. 2 days later, maybe. After
it's definitely some time, because the dishes have built up in the sink. Is basically how you can tell he's gone. Yeah.
A guy wanted to relicense some of his music, and Duncan's offended that he wasn't asking him to write something new. And the guy's like, "No, you said you're retired, so I don't want to offend you by asking you." And it's like, you do what you like with it. I was like, and then the guy from the British Philharmonic said, we couldn't do the event we were planning after all, but we'd still like to work with you in future. And then North number 2 has been running around Bohemia, gathering up information, and he's here to tell you, yeah, Mum wasn't so bad after all, Paul Duncan. It's her. She only hooked up with that rich guy so she could pay for the rogue Japanese doctor to heal you.
His crazy fees, yeah.
That was the only way she could do it. And she didn't come and visit you because she'd seen how much you hated her and she didn't want to deal with
No,
that.
the thing was, she did come visit him in the hospital. He just couldn't see her, and she never reached out to him because she was afraid. There's like, she knew that he hated her for not being there.
Yeah.
So she was there the whole fucking time. She was with you. It took her life basically to keep you alive. And that was the missing part of your song. That was a song that you used to sing with your mother, because I talked to an old man in your village, and yeah, and I was just like, the way it's presented works so fucking well, because you have the missing piece, and you keep hearing like the missing piece in like his dreams, and him kind of talking about it. What he initially calls his nightmares, and as North points out, is like, they're not like my nightmares, and he has obviously PTSD from the war, where he's like, oh, I guess robots can dream as well, when he's having a groaning nightmare in the recharge station in the kitchen. But yeah, your one is actually a dream of something that isn't worth forgetting, where and the missing pieces, and you hear the whole piece, and it's played over what was initially seeming like a tragic memory, but it's just him catching up to his mother to finish the song with her. Really, really wonderfully done. Yeah.
And then there's some bad weather coming in, and so North's got to go and take that cloak he's been wearing to hide his shameful combat body and fight whatever that tornado is. And
yeah, well, he knows, it's like, yeah, you know the way it was like 2 days ago, the way Mont Blanc was killed, and he's like, oh yeah, that famous Swiss robot, and he's like, yeah, there was a tornado then, and there's been a tornado 100 kilometers away just 5 seconds ago, because my sensors detected. It's like, I must go, I will return, and just goes into full combat mode. And after saying several times, the kind of thing repeated of, I want to learn the piano because I never want to go back to war again. So him doing this is actually like a big fucking deal to him as well, you know. Like, I got to protect what I have and what I've built up, because at that stage because it seems to like take place like nearly a year later based off of the time scale. So he's actually spent time with this guy, learned the piano, they finished the song. Yeah, and it's not working out. You know, it's not working out despite them not showing it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just a massive explosion in the sky. And then we cut back to Geist. Well, so we cut back to a young child, boy number 3, as the subtitles tell me, on the closed caption for the dub, who's picking up a snail and putting it on some plants so it doesn't get stepped on the pavement. And then Geist walks up to him and says, I'm glad to finally meet you. Your name's Atom, isn't it? And then he turns and we see that it is indeed Atom, drawn in a Urasawa style. End of episode.
Oh, the other bit we kind of missed out on there, which again, it's a nice contrast to the stuff with North number 2 and Geist himself and his wife and just robots in general, is him investigating the attacking of a police officer and the murder of a police robot. Robbie. It's not a very unobvious name, because he has like just a serial number basically as a name. But he has to go to the robot's wife, and it's like, I'm sorry, there's been a terrible accident. And when he sees the guy dumping out the robot's body, he's like, you mind if I grab some bits? He's like, yeah, it's just scrap metal, buddy. He takes the memory chip out of it and gives it to the wife. And he's like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry. That's kind of because she's reacting to it. That was fucked up. Like, you're seeing his death. That I'm sorry about that. And she's like, no, that's not the thing. The thing that distracted him for a millisecond and allowed the criminal to get the drop on him. There's a guy jumping from building to building there, and that's the exact timestamp of the murder of the robot rights activists. So it's like, oh, that's important evidence.
Memory chips bit is important because that's what Brow, the robot who's kept alive deep under the prison, he's saying, well, if you want my advice, you're gonna have to swap memory chips with me so I can see
You
your
get
memory.
and yeah, as the robot policeman's wife points out, the reason why that and Geist is like kind of like, why didn't that show up in the investigation? Because they thoroughly like investigated his memory chip thing. And it's like you'd only see it if you inserted it into your head, because basically she could see her late husband's her reaction. It was like he's zooming in on that and scanning that, and that basically distracted him for long enough for the criminal to get the drop on him. But that just shows up as video footage when you're just reviewing it. It's different when you actually insert the memory into it. So there is an advantage to that, but don't do it with the serial killer robot. I feel like that's an incredibly bad idea.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, that temptation is like the temptation all the way through.
Because you would
series.
absolutely learn some shit from it, but do you want to learn it as well? That's the kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I think that's it. I'm sure we've missed stuff because these are very long episodes.
They're very long ones, but that was another like plot to Geist's part that I thought was kind of important, and is going to have recurring stuff. And it's a great scene because I was like, how are they going to do her voice? Because I imagine it in a fairly flat affectation, and they did really good job on it. It's overall like I really enjoyed it.
I did see some people complain though that things in the comic which relate to that scene aren't in the anime.
Right. Okay.
I think it's the mirroring of that family and Geist's family. I think people were saying that some scenes aren't there because there's stuff cut for time. But it's been such a while since I've read the comic that I don't think I'd recognize it unless it's anything glaringly.
I understand that some things are going to get cut for time and stuff. I mean, I'm not complaining how long it was, but it's already like pretty much like a movie. And of episode 1, yeah.
Yep, it's very good. It looks generally great. There's a few digital things which everyone's complained about don't look quite as good as everything else. That's what they do.
It's fine, yeah.
Yeah, but it looks better than everything else we watched this week, with possibly the exception of Undead Unluck, episode 4. Do you love the change in me? In which we open with some back and forth with Gina. First of all, we get Shen, and we introduce to another character, Mue, who is hitting with a stick every time he stops meditating.
Because he's like, yes, I need to. What was it? He's doing his thing of speaking in Chinese partially, where he's like remorse, yeah. Because she knows he's been fucking around with shit. I'm not sure she knows that he's sent assassins to kill one of their own, but yeah. He's because he's like, that was a really good fight. Ooh, I'm glad that guy's sticking around. That's going to be good. Because as he keeps everyone keeps calling him a fighting maniac, and that's pretty true to his character. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a bit of back and forth with Fuko is pretty much piggybacking Andy for almost the entirety of this episode. We get when she mentioned she's Andy, and that takes Gina a second to like, oh, you mean Dirty Dearest, because she'd been calling him when she fell in love with him 50 years ago. 50 years ago, but you're my age. No, Andy explains she's 66 years old.
She just cakes on the makeup, and they got like anti-aging technology and shit. And she's like, "No, I'm eternally 16. That's just how I am."
And then she tries to grab them, so Andy cuts his face off. And then she tries to steal a kiss.
She's initially like, Andy's like talking, so she grabs. Again, we don't know her power. Her power is unchanged. So she changes it so his face can't open anymore, and he just kind of tears his own face off to continue fucking talking, basically.
And then she tries to stick the face, which has been cut off, but it disintegrates before she gets a kiss.
Yeah. Like I think at some point Andy chops off his own head, and that's how he ends up Fuko's top, generates his body underneath, and so she's topless, giving it on a piggyback for him for the most of the episode.
The reason he's cut his head off, though, he's not just cut his head off; he puts a grenade in his mouth.
That's it. Yeah.
Where he does the bullet thing of shooting his head into the air, which then explodes, When he grows his body back, then the grenade explodes, so there's more blood to spray everywhere, and that's how he
So she can
sees.
see what her invisible force field looks like, because
Yes.
now it'll be covered in his own viscera and blood.
Yes, and then that's when he figures out that she's preventing the state of something from changing.
So like she's forming hands out of air by making the air like a solid piece of mass that is an unchanging piece of air. Yeah, that kind of thing. Which is how she's making force fields. I think he figures it out as well because of Fuko saying, it's like, hey, we've really pissed her off with me being topless and you giving me a piggyback, but she's only walking slowly towards us. What's the deal with that? It's like, she's got a little hole at the bottom of the force field. That kind of, like, he's figuring out the various parts of her, whatever the hell her rule is, and then figuring it out as he goes.
Yes.
Which is good.
So she grabs his head and then his body grows back underneath her shirt. I don't know why she hasn't put a bra back on.
She did, but like I'm not. It seems to easily pop off based off of the prior episode. So yeah.
This early in the series, yes. Whereas later on, it becomes the Shonen Jump's most secure bra.
She probably just gets it fitted properly, honestly, because maybe she didn't get a proper fitting because no one can touch her, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, quite possibly. But yes, when in comparison to things like One Piece, it always struck me in the comic as being the most sensible bra in Shonen Jump.
I mean, like maybe after all this stuff, she had to go out and get a sensible one. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we get into the hell. They're going to get under there. Also, some lasers show up from a giant UFO. They've already worked out that light can get through this.
Because he used the flashbang. The grenades I tried on her earlier didn't work, but the flashbang did blind her for a bit. But also, the UFO shows up not out of nowhere. She's like, I didn't come here for you guys. I came here to investigate a UMA, which is this UFO in the lake behind me. And it's just like, oh fuck, okay, there's other weird shit in this world, I guess.
So they cover the entire ball in blood again by chopping all of his limbs off and just spraying it. And once they've done that, then he bends over. They use the sword as a lever, and Fuko pivots the spear.
I was thinking of like early, because again, there's a lot of X-Men influence in this. I was thinking of the bit. I think it was the first time they fought the second time they fought the Brotherhood of Mutants, where they used Colossus as a lever to like make it a thing to fling Wolverine at someone, I believe it was at the time. But it's that just to fling her force field dome up so that the hole that she's walking on the bottom is right there, and throw Andy's head in. Because as soon as it's released from her, because she's been topless this entire time touching off him, that'll release all the unlock. And he's like, but not, it'll have to be something that happens inside the force field, because I'm inside the force field now.
Yes, it has to be light. It's probably that massive laser that UFO suddenly appeared. And they both get blasted, and he's about to put her out of her misery. But
because she's like, don't look at me like this. I'm only getting old as I'm dying. So, and Fuko's like, no, don't do it. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna let her die like as she is. And she's like, no, don't look at me. I'm all old and stuff. It's like, baby, you're beautiful even with the wrinkles. That's just icing on the cake. Or he is a cool guy line, basically.
Yes. And so Gina dies, and I guess there's now 2 seats available.
Which is what they were aiming for in the first place, because they made 1 seat available priorly. It's like, it's a really well done episode, because it starts with like sexy shenanigans, cool, incredibly violent fights with figuring out rules, shit like that, and like ends on like romantic, really nice, kind of heartfelt, emotional kind of beats and stuff. And I was just like, this ran the whole fucking gamut of emotions. It's quite well done.
Yes, yeah, it's very well executed. This adaptation, it's still pretty horny, and I'm like, is it horny in the comic? I need to go back and remind myself whether it feels horny.
Was fairly horny at the start, but I'm not sure it was this. I mean, animators are going to make it hornier. So
yes. Yeah, and these are the Fire Force guys. They were pretty horny on that. Yeah, it's funny reading the comments, but I won't say anything about that. People love this episode,
Hmm.
but it is definitely funny reading some of the comments, knowing where the story goes.
Like what? I'm kind of curious.
There people saying, "Oh, it's a shame we're not going to see Gina again."
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That. What a shame.
Yeah. Um, if only you knew.
Oh,
Uh,
I remember. Yeah, I did see a comment where, "Oh, I kind of miss Fuko with the long hair. I thought that suited her better." And I'm like, I agree. Um, so it's
yeah,
things like that. It's like, oh, you lucky ducks. You've
it's
got a lot
definitely a
to.
show where most things you wish will happen will eventually happen. So,
Weirdly, yeah, yeah.
and I don't know whether the big clue about that is going to be at the end of this season or the start of the next, but
It'd be a good
it's
place.
fairly early
Yeah.
on.
Mm, mm,
It's fairly early on.
mm.
There's a point where you're like, oh, Foucault is definitely the main character in this series. Um,
Second billing, but yeah, main character. Or
yeah,
like you think for ages, like, oh, Andy's the main character, right? Yeah, he's the shonen protagonist. It's like, yes, as is Fuko. And work like he's already like he's technically not at his top level, but he's already like fairly high with understanding how he shit work. We're watching her get how the fuck her powers work, and we're watching her journey basically. Yeah.
yeah, because the impression you get in this is that working for the Union is not going to be great and may get Foucault
Yes.
killed.
Yeah, because one of the things that Gina's saying is just like, yeah, you won't fucking last in the union because I would have also liked to change, but I was stuck in working for the union. There's nothing else I could do about it. It's either work for the union or get taken out by them or imprisoned by them, whichever.
But Andy is vehement throughout the episode that she ain't dying until I die. She can't die until I die, so I'm keeping her alive until I'm dead.
Hmm. And yeah, one of the things that sets Gina off kind of is like, I'm gonna romance the fuck out of her, and she's gonna be so smitten with me, and then we're gonna do it, and then I'm gonna die. It's gonna be great. That's my life plan, basically. Hmm.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think I might like because I know the story already. I think Bullbuster has a slight advantage on me in that I don't know where the story is going
Yeah,
in
I
terms of
get you.
things I like.
There's a
But yeah,
groundedness to Bullbuster that's really one of the most is the enjoyable aspect of it. It's definitely got that going on and not knowing where it's going. I'm really enjoying the adaptation of Undead Luck. It's really very well done, very well executed. Probably hornier than it is in the comic, but that's okay. Uh, I will say though, the Pluto this week did make me fucking cry. So that's the one. That's my number one this week because it was just like it was a difficult fucking one, but I was just like, okay, that one actually hit me. But yeah, it's yeah, solid fucking stuff. And I'm good. Yeah, probably obvious, but we're gonna watch like Pluto like week to week rather than watch all of it in one sitting like a fucking lunatic and just go like yum yum yum. I've eaten several dinners at the same time. No, space it out.
no, we'll be my week, and then have to also shovel some Akuma Kun in there shortly as well.
Okay.
When is that due out? It's in November, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's winter season, all right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Akuma Kun is due out in November. Oh, blimey. 8 days' time. Right.
Oh no! Damn it! Not damn it because yay back, but like that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Scott Pilgrim in 16 days' time.
Oh Jesus.
And
Okay.
they put the opening up. I don't know if you've seen it, but
Oh, I haven't actually. Yeah, have to check that
it's
out.
got homages to Beck, which was then talking about things which make you bummed out. I was like, I suddenly realized, oh yeah, if Osamu Kobayashi was still alive, he would have been a great director for a Scott Pilgrim anime. Of course, they probably would. There'd just be continually scenes of them rehearsing and playing gigs rather than the actual story. But
It would have been nice to see that kind of side story stuff. Yeah, yeah.
but yes, in terms of a show about a band and they do gigs and they don't go to grimy places to do gigs. I was like, yeah, that would be right up his alley, and I'm sure that's why they did the Beck homage in the opening. Yeah, I'm more curious about that one as excited because I'm, like I say, I like the film. I didn't like the comic, and this is going to be more like the comic than the film, except of course it's got everybody back from the film in it.
Yeah, I feel like it might be the better adaptation of the comic because again the cast are great. But if it's doing the story like it might appeal to people more like because you have that kind of likeness of the film kind of coming into it. I like the comic. I like the film. I like the video game. Yeah, so I presumably will like it. So that's all right.
Yes. Whereas, yeah, the Comic-Con, I'm super interested because of watching all those Kitaro episodes.
Right, right.
This is apparently a literal sequel to the TV anime from '89, which somebody is currently fan-subbing.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's the son, I think, of the main character from the '89, and also the son of one of the demons, Mephisto. I think it was Mephisto the second, I think, in the TV anime, and it's Mephisto the third in this.
Okay.
Yeah, very interested in that. Very interested in the Kitaro movie when it shows up. Because boy, do I like some of Mizuki's stuff. I should really buy the rest of his comics that have been translated. Not just the Kitaro ones. I've got I've got some of his Showa, his autobiographical series.
Okay.
But there is other stuff I could get as well. Righty-ho, that's it for this week. We'll check back in next week. Otherwise, ta-ta for now.